Okay, so some family dynamics are maintained by silence, not love. Let's handle that, okay? The first thing that's coming to me about what's needing to be handled regarding you specifically with silencing your family dynamics, um, being what's keeping everybody together versus love and truth, is if the truth comes out, it could totally shake up the entire foundation that your family dynamic was built upon. And it's not just you. This is so many of our family dynamics. And part of me wants to say, oh, our African American family dynamics, but it is not our Afro American dynamic in our family. But it's not just us, it's literally everybody. Every type of culture has deceit and lies and silence somewhere down their family line that they've been trying to hold on to. And I know because this is why we don't yet have world peace. Okay? It's coming though. And it's going to come because we're going to uncover the truth boldly and take the necessary actions to ensure that those same things don't replicate in our bloodlines. Okay? We're going to dig real deep in this. I'm going to tell some of my own truths. So let me just put a trigger warning notice out, because if you've had family traumas, sexual, mental, physical, emotional, and you're not ready to handle them, this message is not for you. Okay? But if you're tired of hiding, whether you were the one doing the abuse and or you were the one being abused, okay? Then let's dig in, okay? There's there's so much power in truth, even though many people think there's more power in silence. And I think a lot of people think there's power in silence because they can stay hidden, right? Or things can stay coagulated. But some things don't need to be coagulated. Some things need to be dissembled, dismantled, and broken. Okay? Like a bone, if it has been fractured and it didn't heal correctly, sometimes they have to re-break it so that it can heal properly. Okay? And we're in a phase of breaking. The truth is going to break some things, I'm telling you right now. And so you have to be prepared and ready, mentally, emotionally, to know that when you face your truth, it potentially is going to dismantle, disassemble, and break some of the foundations that we have gotten used to, okay? And, this dismantling, do you know where it starts first? It starts within self. Because here's the thing. So many people want to point the fingers and say, you did this and you did that and you did this and you did that. But if you did it too, the power in what you see and what you're trying to rectify is highly diluted. Because it's coming from a place of hypocrisy, right? So we think this is another reason why silence seems like it helps to maintain the family dynamics, because it's like, well, If I point it out in you, then I have to deal with what I did. Truth. And this is what we have to get down to. And then what happens is, because that's happened, then we feel like we need to make all these excuses for why abuse, corruption, manipulation, all of these things have happened in our family dynamics. Okay? And we're really just going to deal with family right now. Okay? Because if we start uncovering the truth, it's a deep, dirty process to really get clean. Like, you got to dig deep as it's connected to you, to really purify it. So I was recently talking with a client about this, and the topic was on dealing with incest. Okay? And the client was like, well, if there was a lot of incest that happened, like, on both sides of the family, and it's just been generations to generations, naturally it's going to be hard for that person that the client was talking about to kind of like break apart from it. And I could see why they continue to perpetuate that energy. And I said, no, you need to stop making excuses for them. Right? And like my mama says, if she gonna dust the devil out of her, she definitely gonna bust the devil out of you, right? I'm not afraid. At this point, it's real God power to be honest about who you are and what you've done, especially when you're rising into a new righteous frequency. And although I might not be at my highest level, I'm at the highest level yet. So I have no need to be ashamed of things that I've done when I'm being honest about them, right? I can say things that I've done was wrong. I can acknowledge them, but I don't need to be ashamed of the truth when I've risen into a higher knowledge and I've turned away from that sin, right? So I gave an example of how when I was younger, I want to really connect with you guys on this, so I'm not going to draw right now. When I was younger, I really dealt with sexual abuse on small levels, right? And I remember being maybe about 6 or 7 and having younger cousins than me, right? I would pretend like I was asleep, and then I would let those younger cousins kind of touch on my body or whatever, maybe even up to 8, okay? And I remember maybe around the time I went to college, so maybe 16 or 17, I was just thinking about that time, and I had this conviction in my heart about it. Like, that wasn't right, And because it kept coming up to me, I'm like, I know that I was aware, even though I was young, at the time I might not have been fully aware of how bad it was. I knew if I couldn't do it in front of my parents, so I knew something was wrong with it, right? But 16 or 17 for sure, when I look back on those memories, I'm like, something was off, that was wrong, I should not have been doing that. So the cousin that I remember having that do that to, I went and apologized to her, and she was like, yeah, you used to touch me. And I'm like, I'm not, like, okay, now you're stretching it, right? Like, I didn't touch you, I used to let you touch me. And I just let her do that because I'm the one apologizing, right? And I was thinking, it's so amazing how people let their imagination stretch, like, I'm trying to be honest about what I did. But then when I was talking, like, later in life, I was talking to God about some things that I was dealing with, like really trying to cleanse myself so that my future seed, I'm preparing for children, right? For more children. And so as I'm preparing my body, I have to prepare my soul, I have to prepare my mind, I have to prepare my heart so that this trauma does not pass down through the DNA, right? So talking to this client, talking to God, it was like all at the same time, right? And I was thinking, interesting. As I'm reflecting, I had traumas coming back up before I talked to this client. of abusive situations that felt abusive even though I didn't have a sharp memory about it. And then I started thinking, well, if I had these little cousins, I'm already young, 6 to 8, right? Letting these little cousins touch me while I pretend like I'm asleep. Where did I learn to do that from so at such a young age, right? Like that's now I'm starting to think about that, right? And those little cousins, where did they learn to do that from? So it's possible that I did teach them how to touch me when I was sleeping by touching them. And I'm like, oh, this is a truth I have to face. She was probably right, and I just didn't remember. Probably the same way I didn't remember how I learned how to do it. Who did that to me? Right? Because I do have vivid not imaginations, I have vivid memories. That's what I was trying to say. Memories, they're all in the same portal, right? I have vivid memories confirmed by other family members of people doing sexual acts at a very, very young age to us. Okay? So it's not out of the ballpark that some of those memories I don't remember because maybe I didn't want to remember who did it. And these are the kind of truths that we have to face, right? And I remember I was so bright and brilliant that at 10, there was somebody at the church having me babysit her children. Now, this is the thing we have to be honest about. We should not be having children watching children. Seriously. Okay? I was smart, I was bright, but she had no clue what I had been through or how I think or how I watch children. She just figured, oh, this girl is smart. She can watch my kids. But I remember having her kids do the same thing at 10. And when I remembered, though, I didn't forget, but when I got old enough as an adult, I went back to her and I apologized to that woman for what I did to her children, even though I was 10. So this is why I told that client, no. Trauma being passed down through generations is not an excuse to continue passing it down. Because I was 10 and I knew what I was doing was wrong. I was 6 and I knew what I was doing was wrong. I was 8 and I knew what I was doing was wrong. And I was 16 and I knew I needed to rectify my actions. And I was in my 20s and I knew I needed to go apologize, to rectify my actions without anybody having to come up to me and say, you did this to me. Because I knew what I did was wrong and I wanted to be right in my heart. This is how we become righteous, and this is how we rectify this dirt in our DNA. We have to be honest, not only about who did what to us, but what we did to others. My son, I have raised him to be honest. And so when he's honest enough to come and tell me what I did to him, like you should come apologize for like the times you were gone or whatever you did and that hurt my feelings and you should be the one that should apologize. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't feel like it was wrong. And so this is being honest too, right? Like, don't apologize for something that you don't honestly feel is wrong. So we've had to have honest sit downs about, are you saying I'm wrong because somebody taught you this, or do you really feel like I did something wrong? Because if I'm the type of person, if I really feel like I did something wrong, you're not going to have to come to me. I'm going to come to you and I will apologize. And I'm not going to admit to, this is how my first physically abusive relationship, he was trying to break me, because I'm not going to let you embed these things into my mind that I don't feel is true, because I'm such an honest person. If I feel it's true, I will admit to it. So my son and I, we have the relationship we have is a very honest relationship, because he can come to me and say, Mom, this hurt me. And I'll say, I didn't see it like that, but thank you for sharing it with me. And I did have to teach him, you can't hold something against me if I didn't see it, because you know what kind of person I am, right? But you still need to bring it to my attention, because although I didn't feel like I did anything wrong, after you share how you feel, I still want to, because I love you, I want to acknowledge your feelings. And if you bring something up to people about something that they did was wrong and they try and make you feel bad about it, that's gaslighting, that's manipulation, and that is not love. And these are the type of things that we have to stop in the bloodline. Because in order to truly have peace, we have to have truth. We have to have honesty. We have to have freedom, true freedom of speech. But the freedom of speech, where it's going to be balanced, where we have peace, is going to come from a place of love. Not freedom of speech where I'm being manipulative. That's the devil. So be honest. When these things come up in your body, your nervous system is going to tell you when you are wrong, and your nervous system is going to tell you when you need to tell the truth about someone else who has wronged you. And if they cannot face it with integrity and honesty, you need to separate yourself. And you need to be on, because this is the only way we're going to get to the new world. This is the only way we're going to get to the new earth, where God reigns fully, where we can all be God. And if this is not a boring, this is not a boring, mundane world where everybody's like, we're not doing nothing that is fun. We're just sitting here under the sun. Ain't nothing really, really going on. We're just being here mundane. That's not what's happening. It's going to be fun. It's going to be sexy. It's going to be lively, but it's going to be godly. Sexy in the right places, with the right people, with your divine unions, not in a way that's going to pervert our children. And this is why we have to be honest and be truth, and stop incest at the root. Stop pedophilia at the root. Stop manipulation at the root. Stop gaslighting at the root. Stop stealing at the root. And being willing to walk away from it and walk alone until we can build a world that is truly our home. You have to be willing to do this. And the first step is facing the truth in you, busting the devil out of you. That's the only way you can have enough strength, courage, and boldness to stand in front of the devil and know that the devil can't do nothing to you. But if you're not being honest with yourself, and then you try and be honest with a devil, that devil can sense the gap in you, and they're going to go straight for it. So the true protection is being righteous within yourself by facing that truth within yourself. Going to apologize to whoever you need to apologize to. You need to rectify all that stuff first within yourself before you start trying to point it out in anybody else. And after you've handled it within yourself, then start going through the rest of the bloodline. And anybody who will listen, let them listen and handle. And if they don't, this lets you know what needs to be sifted and sorted out. Okay? I know this is deep, but it's necessary. Okay? Okay. What's a silent rule you live by? Perfect. Again, as always. What's a silent rule you live by? With the QR code. And is this silent rule a code of honor and code of ethics, or a code of ungodly protection? Face it. I attract abundant success and positivity into my life. Universal love. It's going to take loving yourself wholly, truly, purely, facing the dark and the light within yourself, knowing what's what, being honest with what needs to be cut off within yourself and what doesn't, regardless of what other people say, because there are going to be some people who try and tell you that your truth, your righteousness is wrong, and you have to know the difference. God is going to help you sort that out and filter it, okay? Here are 3 journal prompts to help you handle this truth by facing it, okay? Number 1, what truth do I withhold to keep the emotional balance in my family? Number 2, where have I mistaken self-abandonment for harmony? And number 3, what boundary would honor both truth and compassion? Remember, we don't hide from the truth. We handle it sovereignly. Peace, y'all.